I never thought that at my own sister's wedding I would be seated behind a column. But here I am sitting behind a massive marble column that hides me from the main table, where all my relatives are laughing and clinking glasses. It's as if I'm not here, as if I'm a ghost. My name is Olivia, and I'm 19 years old. I'm a culinary arts student, and I work part-time as a waitress at the Red Tower Diner to pay for my tuition. I live in a dorm, ride the bus, and save money on everything I can. My sister Claire, who is 27, has always had everything. My parents paid for her to go to college, where she studied psychology. They bought her a Honda Civic for graduation. And today, they threw her a $40,000 wedding at a country club with fountains, an orchestra, and roses that probably cost more than my annual food budget. I was barely mentioned. Of course, they invited me, because how could they not invite their sister? But when I arrived in the only decent dress I had, which I bought at a thrift store, Mom Joan just nodded at me from afar. Dad Ralph didn't even look my way. And when the guests were seated, I was sent here, behind the column, away from the family table, as if I were a distant relative or a random guest invited out of pity. My father, 56 years old, a retired mechanic, sits at the head table and talks to the groom's relatives. My mother, 53 years old, an administrator at a dental clinic, stands next to Claire and fixes her hair. They look happy, complete, as if their family consists of Dad, Mom, and Claire. And I'm just someone who gets in the way of this perfect picture. I look at them through the gap between the column and the wall. Claire looks stunning in a white lace dress, her dark hair pulled back into an elaborate hairstyle, her smile wide and happy. The groom, Ethan Ryder, 28 years old, a lawyer at a small firm, holds her hand and looks at her as if she is the center of his universe. And I sit here and think, why? What did I do wrong? Suddenly, someone sits down next to me. I turn and see a man, tall, with dark hair and a tired look in his eyes. He looks about 25 or 26, dressed in a suit that looks a little tight in the shoulders. "Hi," he says quietly so no one can hear. "Sorry for being so abrupt, but I need your help." I blink, not understanding. "Help? We don't even know each other." "I know," he smiles uncertainly. "But just repeat after me and pretend you're my partner. A few hours, then I'll explain and repay you." "I promise." I look at him, trying to figure out if this is some kind of joke, but something in his gaze, not a threat, not a mockery, but some kind of desperate honesty, makes me nod. Maybe because I don't care. Maybe because sitting here alone behind the column is worse than any risk. "Okay," I say. He exhales, with relief. "Thank you." "Really? My name is Martin Strickler. Olivia." He nods, then takes my hand and holds it on the table. His palm is warm, slightly sweaty. I feel my heart racing. What am I doing? Time passes slowly. We sit together, and he occasionally whispers something neutral to me about the weather, the food, the music. I respond briefly, trying not to think about the fact that my parents still haven't approached me. And then the toasts begin. Ethan stands up, raises his glass, talks about love, about Claire, about how happy he is. The guests applaud, then relatives and friends speak. Suddenly, Martin stands up. He walks to the center of the room, and everyone looks at him. I see Ethan smile broadly as if he recognizes him. "Hello, everyone," Martin says, his voice trembling slightly. "My name is Martin Strickler, and I've been Ethan's best friend since childhood. We've known each other since 8th grade, and I've seen him grow up, searching for his soulmate. And today I am infinitely happy that he has found Claire." The guests applaud again. Ethan nods, his eyes shining. "But I want to do something special," Martin continues. "The other day I won the lottery, the Love Duo lottery, together with my girlfriend Olivia." He points at me, and suddenly all heads turn in my direction. I feel my face burning. What is he doing? "We won $500,000, Martin says, "and I want to share this happiness with you. Ethan, Claire, please accept $100,000 from us as a wedding gift." Silence. Then an explosion of applause. Ethan jumps up, hugs Martin, and shouts something about how incredible it is. The guests cheer. Joan's mother whispers something to Ralph's father, and they both turn to me for the first time all evening. But I look at Claire. She's standing by the table, her smile frozen. Her face is pale. She looks at me, and there's something terrible in her eyes. Not joy, not surprise. Something like shock and rage at the same time. Martin turns to me, sits down, squeezes my hand. "I'm sorry," he whispers. "I'll explain soon." The wedding ends at 9 in the evening. The guests disperse. Claire and Ethan leave on their honeymoon. My parents don't approach me, although I see my mother glance in my direction several times. Martin leads me to the parking lot. We stand by his old Toyota, and he finally explains. "I really did win the lottery," he says. "Love duo. It's a couples lottery. Only couples who have been in a relationship for at least 6 months can buy a ticket. You have to prove that you're together, show photos, your chat history, all that stuff." I listen, trying to understand. "But I bought the ticket myself," he continues. "I didn't think I'd win. I just did it to keep Ethan company, who was doing all this romantic stuff and everything. And when I won, it turned out that I needed an official girlfriend for verification. Otherwise, I wouldn't get the money." He looks at me. "I saw you sitting behind the column like nobody needed you, and I thought maybe you'd agree to help me for $50,000. If you play my girlfriend for the lottery, she's for photo shoots, interviews, documents. I can't believe it." "Why me?" I ask. "Why not someone else?" Martin smiles sadly. "Because you looked like you had nothing to lose. Just like me. I think about money, about college, about how I save on everything, about my parents who never help, about how I got stuck behind a column today." "Okay," I say. "I agree." Martin exhales. "Thank you. Really?" I turn to go to my bus, but then I see her. Claire is standing at the entrance to the banquet hall. She's looking at me, not with indifference, not with contempt, with pure, undisguised hatred. Her eyes are narrow, her lips pressed together, as if I had just taken something very precious from her, and that scares me more than any indifference I've seen before. The morning after the wedding, Martin calls me at 9 o'clock. I'm still asleep because I came home late last night, and my head is buzzing from everything that happened. "Olivia?" His voice is cheerful, but a little nervous. "Sorry for calling so early, but we need to get started. Verification will take some time, and the sooner we get ready, the better." I sit up in my dorm bed and rub my eyes. "Verification?" "Yes," he says. "The Love Duo lottery requires proof that we are a couple. Joint photos, witnesses, correspondence, interviews with the organizers. They check everything very carefully because there have been cases of fraud." I feel my heart racing. This is real. This is not a joke. "Okay," I say. "What should I do?" "Shall we meet today at 2 o'clock? I know a cafe near your college. We'll discuss the details." We meet at a small cafe called Bridgetown, which smells of coffee and cinnamon. Martin is already sitting at a table by the window with his laptop and notebook in front of him. "Hi," he smiles as I approach. "I ordered you a cappuccino. I hope you like it." "I do," I say, sitting down opposite him. He opens his notebook. "So, we need a story. How we met, how long we've been together, why no one knew about us. The organizers ask a lot of questions, and our answers have to match. We spend an hour coming up with the details. We decide that we met 8 months ago through the Hinge app. I saw his profile, where he wrote that he loves old movies and pizza with pineapple. He liked my photo where I'm holding a pancake in a frying pan. We met secretly because I was embarrassed to show my boyfriend to my parents, and they always criticized my choices. And Martin didn't want pressure from Ethan, who was always giving advice about relationships, especially about his future wife's sister. Sounds plausible, Martin says, taking notes. Now for the photos. We need pictures of us together from the last few months. Let's go to the park and take a few series. We go to Riverside Park. Martin holds the phone. We take a selfie. I hug him around the shoulders, he kisses me on the cheek, we laugh. At first it's awkward, but then I relax. He's funny when he makes faces for the camera. "That's good," he says, showing me a photo where we're both looking at each other and smiling. It looks natural. Then we go to his apartment, a small studio on the 3rd floor of an old building. It's cramped but cozy. A sofa bed, a table by the window, a kitchen with 2 burners. Sorry for the mess," he says, picking up a few t-shirts from a chair. I wasn't expecting guests. We sit down at the table, and Martin opens a messaging app on his computer. Now for the correspondence. We need to fake our communication history. I'll create a fake account for you, and we'll write a few hundred messages over the last 8 months. It takes hours. We write banal things. "How's your day? See you tonight. Oh, I miss you." We add emojis, hearts, jokes. Martin even inserts a few photos of us from the park. The organizers check the metadata, he explains, so I change the dates and times to older ones. It's difficult, but peaceable. I look at him, impressed. "You're really well prepared." He smiles sadly. "I need this money, really." I want to ask why, but I don't dare. Weeks go by. We meet several times a week, rehearsing answers to possible questions from the organizers. Martin tells me about himself. He lives alone, works as a logistics specialist at an Amazon warehouse, and his best friend is Ethan, whom he has known since 8th grade. He has a few other friends from work, Jay and Rob, but few close friends. My parents divorced when I was 14. He says, one evening as we sit in his apartment eating Chinese food out of boxes, my mom moved to Oregon and married some guy. My dad remarried and basically forgot about me. The last time I saw him was 3 years ago. I listen, feeling something like pain in my chest. "I'm sorry." He shrugs. "I'm used to it. How about you? Why did your parents do that to you?" I stir my noodles with chopsticks, not looking at him. "I don't know. They always loved Claire more. It's like I'm a mistake. I saved on everything to pay for college. They refused to help. They said Claire needed the money for university." Martin looks at me for a long time. "That's not fair." "Yes," I say quietly, "but I'm used to it." He reaches across the table and touches my hand. "Now you have me. At least for the duration of this show." Something inside me warms up. One day, Martin brings me coffee before a photo shoot. A mocha with caramel, my favorite. I'm surprised. "How did you know?" "You mentioned it last week," he says simply. Another time, after his shift at the warehouse, I make him dinner at his apartment. A simple omelet with cheese and tomatoes. He tastes it and closes his eyes. "This is better than any restaurant food," I laugh. "It's just an omelet." "But you made it for me," he says, looking at me in a way that makes my cheeks feel warm. We laugh at silly jokes. He shows me videos of cats, and I tell him about the strange customers at Red Tower. Gradually, I feel that he is not just a stranger I met at a wedding. He is someone who sees me. One evening, my mother calls. I see her name on the screen and freeze, then pick up the phone. "Hi, Mom." "Olivia." Her voice is cold, formal. "You didn't tell me you had a boyfriend." I clench the phone. We're seeing each other secretly." "Secretly?" she snorts. "Why? We would have liked to meet him, especially after he helped Claire so much." I feel anger rising. "I'm busy right now, Mom." "Of course you're busy," she says sharply. "You've always been selfish. You never thought about your family." She hangs up. I sit motionless, holding the phone. My hands are shaking. Martin comes over and hugs me. "She has no right to talk like that," he says. I don't cry. I've learned not to cry because of them. 2 weeks later, a message arrives from the lottery organizers. Verification was successful. The money will be transferred to Martin's account within 3 business days. We sit in his apartment staring at the laptop screen. $500,000. It's real. "We did it," Martin says, his voice trembling with excitement. I smile. "Yes, the money will be deposited on Friday." Martin calls me, his voice happy. "They're here, Olivia, it's really here. We meet in the evening." He hands me a check for $50,000. "A deal is a deal," he says. I look at the check. It's more money than I've ever seen in my life. It's a chance to finish college without debt, a chance to not eat ramen every day. "I don't need that much," I say suddenly. "Keep it. You deserve it." Martin looks at me like I'm crazy. "No, you deserve it. Without you, I wouldn't have gotten anything." I take the check, but I can't stop staring at it. "Thank you," I whisper. But 2 days later, my phone explodes with calls. Mom, Dad, Claire. Everyone wants to talk to me. I finally answer my mom. "Olivia," she says, her voice insistent, "we need your help. Claire's wedding has ruined us. We've spent all our savings. Give us at least $30,000. You can help your family." I freeze. "Mom, that's my money." "Yours?" She laughs bitterly. "You won it by accident, and we're your family. It's rude to ask Claire for money right after her wedding." I feel panic rising. They're going to take that money from me. They always take everything. I go to Martin's. He opens the door, sees my face, and immediately understands. "What happened?" "My parents," I say, barely breathing. "They want money, $30,000. They say I have to help. I can't give it to them. This is the first time I've ever had something of my own." Martin takes my hands. "Olivia, calm down. We'll figure something out." "Can you keep the money for me?" I beg, "so they don't get it? I don't trust myself. They'll pressure me and I'll break." Martin looks at me for a long time. Then he says quietly, "Okay, but only if you promise me something." "What?" I ask. "That we won't end this?" He says, "Our performance. I like being with you, and it seems you like it too." I look at him. His dark eyes are sincere. I think about how he brought me coffee, how he laughed at my jokes, how he hugged me when my mom hurt my feelings. And I do something I hadn't thought about before. I kiss him, timidly, but sincerely. His lips are soft and warm. He responds, hugging me, and I feel something inside me open up. When we pull apart, he smiles. Does that mean yes? I nod, laughing through my tears. The next morning, I wake up to the vibration of my phone, a message from Claire. I open it. "Do you really think he's with you because of you? That's ridiculous. He's just using you like everyone else. You'll see for yourself soon enough." I stare at the screen. A chill runs down my spine. Claire's message won't leave my head. I reread it in the morning while Martin is sleeping on the couch. "He's just using you like everyone else. What does she mean?" But then Martin wakes up, smiles at me, and I decide to forget about the text message. Maybe Claire is just jealous. Maybe she can't accept that I finally have something. We officially start dating. Not for the lottery, not for the money, just because we're good together. Martin takes my hand when we walk. He kisses me goodbye when I leave for work. And for the first time in my life, I feel like someone really wants to be with me. But the silence doesn't last long. My parents start calling every day. First, my mom. "Olivia, we need help. The wedding left us broke. You have to help the family." I tell her I can't, that the money is mine, that I spent it on my education. She doesn't believe me. "You're selfish," she says coldly. "We did everything for you, and you can't even give us $30,000? I want to ask what exactly they did for me. Did they pay for even one semester of college? Did they buy me even one decent thing? But I remain silent. I just listen as she lists my sins. Then my dad calls. His voice is harder, more demanding. "Take a cue from your boyfriend," he says. "He gave $100,000 to a friend, and you can't help us, your parents?" I squeeze the phone so hard that my fingers turn white. "Dad, it was his money. He decided that himself. And you decide to be selfish," he says and hangs up. I don't know what to do. They call again and again. My mom texts me. "We gave you life, and you can't even say thank you." My dad sends me the wedding bills, as if that should make me feel guilty. Martin sees that something is wrong with me. One evening, as we sit in his apartment, he asks, "Are they still calling?" I nod. unable to speak. Every day. They say I'm selfish, that I have to give the money back. Martin is silent, looking at me for a long time. Then he picks up the phone and calls Ethan. I hear snippets of the conversation. Yes, they pressure her every day? No, she's not to blame. She's barely holding on. Listen, maybe you can do something. You've seen how they treat her. The next day, Ethan gives his parents $30,000 from the money he and Claire received as a gift from Martin. He tells them it's from Olivia, that she just didn't want to give it directly because she was offended by their tone. His parents accept the money, but they don't call to thank him. Instead, my mother sends a short message. She could have given it herself, but at least it's something. I read it and feel something cold and heavy settle inside me. They took the money, not mine, but Ethan's, but they're still unhappy. They'll always be unhappy with me. A week of silence. I think it's finally over, but then Claire calls. Her voice is warm, almost friendly. Livy, hi, long time no talk. Would you and Martin like to come over for dinner? Ethan would love to see his friend. I'm surprised. After that message, I didn't expect her to call. I don't know, I say cautiously. Come on, she insists, and there's something sweet and fake in her voice. I want to mend our relationship. We're sisters. We can't go on like this, I tell Martin. He thinks about it, rubbing the back of his head. Maybe she really wants to change? Let's give it a try. Ethan is my best friend. It would be nice if we could all spend time together. I agree, although something inside me is wary. Dinner with Claire and Ethan takes place in their new house. A 2-story house with a large kitchen, granite countertops, and a fireplace. Claire makes lasagna. Ethan opens the wine. Everything looks perfect, like something out of a magazine about happy families. Ethan and Martin sit down on the sofa and turn on the football. They laugh, reminiscing about playing basketball in high school, how Ethan broke his arm trying to impress a girl with a dunk. Remember how the coach yelled at you? Martin laughs. How could I forget? Ethan shakes his head. I couldn't write for a week. I help Claire in the kitchen. She smiles and talks about their honeymoon in Hawaii, how Ethan forgot his passport and they had to go back home from the airport. Imagine we're already at check-in and he's like, "Where's my passport?" She laughs, but the sound is hollow. But then I notice the details. When we sit down at the table, Claire sits next to Martin. Not next to Ethan, her husband, next to Martin. She passes him a plate and touches his hand, longer than necessary. Martin, is it good? She asks, leaning closer, and I can see her hair almost touching his shoulder. He nods, not noticing anything strange. Very? Thank you, Claire. You're a great cook. She smiles broadly, her eyes shining. Later, when we move the furniture for a board game, Claire asks Martin to help her move the table from the living room. Martin, you're so strong, she says, laughing and touching his bicep. Will you help me? Ethan's back hurts today. Ethan sits on the couch, watching them, saying nothing. Martin picks up the table and carries it to the living room. Claire stands next to him, looking at him as if he has done something heroic, saved her life. I try not to think about it. Maybe she's just being friendly. Maybe I'm being paranoid. Maybe after that message, I'm just looking for confirmation of my fears. But something gnaws at me from the inside, won't let go. We visit them a few more times. Each time, Claire sits next to Martin. She touches his shoulder when she jokes. She looks at him for a long time when he speaks. She laughs at his jokes louder than necessary. One evening, when we are returning home, I can't take it anymore. Don't you think Claire is acting strangely? Martin looks at me in surprise and turns on his turn signal. Strangely? In what way? I don't know how to explain it without sounding crazy. She always sits next to you. She touches you. She looks at you. And then Martin laughs, but not maliciously, just gently. Lee, she's married, and she's your sister. I think you're just nervous about your parents. It's normal. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm imagining things. Maybe after years of being ignored, I just don't know how to recognize normal attention. One day, while we're cooking dinner together, Martin says something unexpected. Move in with me. I almost dropped the knife. What? Move in, he repeats, turning to face me. Officially, my apartment isn't big, but it's quiet, and no one will bother you there. My parents won't be able to pressure you if you're here all the time. I hesitate, putting down the knife. What if it's too soon? We've only just started. What if... Martin comes over and takes me by the shoulders. Either we try or they'll eat you alive. I won't let them do that, Liv. You deserve peace. I look into his eyes. He's serious. He really wants me to move. He wants to protect me. Okay, I say quietly, my heart pounding. But when my parents find out, one of my roommates sees me packing and tells my mom. They come without warning. I hear a knock at the door, open it, and there they are. Mom and Dad, their faces stern. You're not moving in with them, Mom says sharply, coming inside without even waiting to be invited. You're too young. You're 19. You don't even know what you're doing. He's using you, adds Dad, closing the door. Can't you see? He just wants to control your money, use you. I try to explain that the money is in his account, that I have nothing with me, that it's my decision, that I'm happy with him. But they don't listen. You're ruining your life, Mom yells, her voice rising, and embarrassing us. What will people say, that our daughter is living with some warehouse worker? You haven't even finished college, Dad adds, and you're already playing at adult relationships. You're a child, Olivia. The neighbors can hear through the thin walls. Someone must be calling Claire because 20 minutes later, she and Ethan show up at the door. Claire stands next to her parents, her face worried, but there's something else in her eyes. Satisfaction? Livy, maybe you shouldn't rush into this, she says softly, almost sympathetically. You've only just started dating him. Maybe wait at least a year? Her parents nod. At least your sister has some sense, her mother says. But Ethan suddenly steps between them and me. His face is serious. She's an adult, he says firmly, looking at her parents, then at Claire. She's 19. She's not a child. She has the right to choose where she lives and with whom. His parents look at him in surprise. Ethan, you don't understand. I do, he interrupts his mother. I've known Martin since 8th grade. He's the most decent man I know. He won't hurt her. He won't use her. I vouch for him. Claire turns pale and takes a step back. Ethan. He looks at her. Claire, your sister has a right to her own life. We can't control everyone around us. Mom wants to say something, but Dad pulls her toward the door. Fine, he says coldly. Do what you want, but you, he looks at Olivia, don't come to us when it all falls apart. They leave. Claire lingers for a moment, looking at me with something like disappointment. Then she follows them. Ethan stays behind and sighs. I'm sorry about this, he says quietly. Your parents are complicated people. I can't talk. I just nod. I'm moving next week. Martin helps me move my things. 2 suitcases, a box of books, a few pots and pans, a photo of my grandmother, the only memory of someone who loved me unconditionally. Life gets easier. We cook together. He makes breakfast. I make dinner. We watch TV series on the laptop while lying on the sofa. Martin drives me to work on his days off, so I don't have to take the bus in the cold. For the first time, I feel happy. It's like I'm breathing deeply for the first time. It's like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be. But Claire doesn't give up. She starts accidentally dropping by. She rings the doorbell and smiles. I made too much soup, she says, holding a pot. I thought you wouldn't mind. Or, I was nearby and decided to visit. Is that okay? She makes dinner and stays late. She sits on the couch between Martin and Ethan, watches movies, comments on every scene. I try to be polite, but I feel uncomfortable. Why does she come so often? Why does she always find a reason to touch Martin, to pass him the remote, to ask for help with something? One evening, when Claire is visiting again, I go to the bedroom. My head is splitting. I want to lie down in silence. But I don't close the door completely, and I hear voices in the kitchen. Martin speaks quietly but tensely. Ethan, your wife is crossing the line. She can't just show up here whenever she wants. This is our home. Olivia feels uncomfortable, and he says something else too quietly, and Ethan replies irritably, "What do you mean? She's just being friendly. She wants to mend her relationship with her sister." "That's not friendliness," Martin says harshly, and I hear him drop something on the table. "It's something else, and you know it, Ethan. You're not blind." Silence, heavy, thick. Then Ethan, his voice angry and cold. "Don't you dare tell me how to live my life. And don't you dare blame Claire. You don't understand anything about our marriage." I hear someone get up, a chair scraping across the floor. A door slams. The next day, Martin is silent. I ask what happened, but he only says, "Ethan and I had a fight, nothing serious, just I need to give him some time." But it is serious. Ethan doesn't call anymore. He doesn't invite us over. Claire stops contacting me. No calls, no messages, no random visits. I enjoy the silence. Finally, no one is meddling in our lives. Finally, we can just be together without prying eyes and comments. 2 months pass quietly. Martin gets a small promotion at work. He's now a senior logistician. I pass my college exams with high marks. My teacher says I have a talent for baking. We celebrate, buy wine and pizza, sit on the roof of his house, and look at the stars. "I'm happy," he says, holding my hand. "Happier than I've ever been." I kiss him, feeling warm inside. Me too. But one evening when I come home from work, Martin is sitting at the table holding a piece of paper. His face is pale, his lips pressed together. "What's wrong?" I ask, taking off my jacket, my heart instantly racing. He looks up. His eyes are filled with panic and anger at the same time, a mixture that frightens me. "It's a letter," he says quietly, barely restrained. "From Amazon's HR department, an investigation, allegations of sexual harassment, from 3 female colleagues, all anonymous." I freeze, unable to believe it. "What?" He hands me the paper. I read it. Official Amazon letterhead, dated yesterday. No names, just anonymous accusation number 1, 2, 3. 3 women claim that Martin made inappropriate comments about their appearance, touched them without permission, their shoulders, their backs, and created an uncomfortable working environment. "It's not true," he says, his voice breaking. "Olivia, I swear to you, I didn't do anything like that. I don't even know who these women are. I barely talk to anyone at work except Jay and Rob." I look at him. His hands are shaking as he picks up the paper again and rereads it, as if hoping the words will change. He looks like a man who has suddenly found himself on the edge of a precipice and doesn't understand how he got there. "I believe you," I say, sitting down next to him and taking his hand. But inside me, something cold and heavy whispers, "Who could have done this? Who knows enough about Martin to fake such details? And why now, when we are finally happy?" The next morning, Martin doesn't go to work. He sits at the table, rereading the letter from HR over and over, as if hoping to find some mistake, some explanation. I make him coffee, but he doesn't touch the cup. "They're calling me in for a meeting on Monday," he says quietly. "The investigation will take a week, maybe more. If I don't find evidence of my innocence, I'll be fired." I sit down across from him and take his hand. "We'll find the evidence. I know you didn't do anything." But fear paralyzes me. What if he gets fired? What if his reputation is ruined? He won't be able to find another job with such accusations. "We need to call Ethan," I say suddenly. "He's a lawyer. He'll help." Martin looks at me sadly. "We haven't spoken in 2 months. He may not want to help." "Try," I say, "but he's your best friend." Martin dials the number. Ethan answers after the 3rd ring, his voice cautious. "Martin?" "Ethan, I'm sorry to call. I know we—" Martin pauses, then continues. "I need your help. I'm being accused of sexual harassment at work. Anonymous, 3 women. It's not true, but I'm not sure what to do." Silence on the other end. Then Ethan, his voice changing abruptly, becoming professional, firm. "This is serious. We need to act fast. What evidence do they have?" Letters from anonymous accounts, details about my schedule, places I go. Come to my office in an hour. Bring all the documents you have. We drive to Ethan's office, a small space on the second floor of an old building. He meets us at the door and gives Martin a quick pat on the shoulder. "Tell me everything," he says as we sit down. Martin shows him the letter and explains that he didn't do anything, that he doesn't even know who these women are. Ethan reads carefully and takes notes. Anonymous accusations are difficult to refute, but not impossible. We need to gather evidence. Testimonials from colleagues who can confirm your behavior, correspondence in corporate messengers, recordings from cameras in the warehouse. The next few days pass in a fever. Martin collects the contacts of his colleagues, Jay, Rob, and several others he worked with. They all agree to testify. Martin has always been professional and has never done anything inappropriate. Ethan requests the warehouse camera recordings through an official request. They show that Martin hardly interacts with women at work, only brief work conversations, no touching, no inappropriate comments. But the most interesting thing is the fake accounts, from which the letters to HR were sent. Ethan hires an IT specialist to track them down. The accounts were created 3 weeks ago from the same IP address, registered under fake names. Someone faked it, Ethan says, looking at the screen. Someone who knows details about your life. Who could have had that kind of access, I wonder? Who knows Martin's schedule? Who knows where he goes, who he works with? And then it hits me. Dinner at Claire's. She always asked Martin questions. "Martin, how's work? Who do you work with?" "Oh, are you on day shifts now or night shifts?" "What are your colleagues like? Anyone interesting?" I thought she was just curious, but now... "Claire," I say quietly. She always asked Martin questions about work, colleagues, his schedule. Ethan looks at me, his face darkening. "Are you sure?" "Yes," I say. "Every time we were at their place, she asked about it." Martin sits down, covering his face with his hands. "God, I didn't notice. I thought she was just being polite." Ethan is silent for a long time. Then he says, "The evidence is circumstantial, but it's enough to raise questions. I'll talk to her." But that same evening, before Ethan has a chance to do anything, Claire calls me. I look at the screen of my phone, hesitate, then answer. "Liv, eh?" Her voice trembles. "Please don't sue. It's a bad idea. It will only make things worse. Just let it go." I clutch the phone. "Claire, what do you mean?" She's silent. I can hear her breathing. "Why are you calling me? What have you done?" She hangs up. I look at Martin, my hands shaking. It's her. I know it's her. Ethan comes over that evening and says he wants to talk to Claire alone. He invites her to his office the next day. I don't know what happens at that meeting, but 2 hours later, Ethan calls us. "Come to my house," he says, his voice empty. "Now." We arrive. Claire is sitting on the couch, her face tear-stained, her eyes red. Ethan is standing by the window, looking out at the street. "Tell them," he says coldly, without turning around. Claire looks at us, then lowers her eyes. "It was me," she whispers. "I sent the letters." Silence. Heavy, suffocating. "Why?" Martin asks, his voice barely restrained. Claire cries, wiping her face with her hands. "Because she's a bad person. She always has been. And when she won the lottery, when she got the money, the attention, I wanted to show her she didn't deserve it." "I don't understand." "Bad? What do you mean?" Claire looks at me and there's something dark in her eyes. "You're just bad, Olivia. Evil. You always ruined everything around you." She doesn't explain further. She just repeats it like a mantra. Ethan turns around, his face hard. "She wanted to seduce Martin," he says. "During your dinners, she made hints, touched him. She wanted to show you, Olivia, that even your boyfriend wouldn't choose you." Martin nods. "She came up to me once when you were in the bathroom. She said something ambiguous. I rejected her sharply. I said she was married, that it was disgusting. Then I told Ethan." Ethan looks at Claire. "At first, I didn't believe it. I thought Martin was exaggerating, but I decided to keep quiet and watch, and I saw it. I saw how she treated him. Claire cries louder. I didn't love him. I wanted her to understand that she was worthless. And when he rejected you, Ethan continues, you took it personally, and you decided to get revenge, to destroy him, to get back at him and his sister at the same time. Martin looks at Claire, his face pale. You wanted to ruin my life. Why? Because I didn't fall for your manipulation? Claire doesn't answer. Ethan approaches her and stands in front of her. Either you officially drop all charges, write a confession that it was a lie, and leave them alone, or I'll file for divorce. Right now. Claire looks at him shocked. Ethan, you can't. I can, he says firmly. I can't live with someone who does this. You hate your sister for no reason. You tried to ruin my best friend's life. It's disgusting. Claire cries and begs, but Ethan is unmoved. Choose now. She nods, barely noticeably. I'll drop the charges. Ethan calls Olivia's parents. He tells them that Claire has done something terrible and that they need to talk. He probably wanted to understand why she thought I was so terrible, and her parents could give him the answer. An hour later, her parents are standing at the door of Olivia and Martin's apartment. Ethan explains the situation to them and shows them the evidence. But instead of condemning Claire, her parents turn to Olivia. It's your fault. You're destroying the family, her mother yells. You've always been a problem. You've always ruined everything, and now you've done it again. Her father yells. I don't understand. I look at them, trying to understand why they are defending Claire. But she did it, I say, pointing at my sister. She wanted to ruin Martin's life. Because you deserve it, my mother yells. I recoil as if from a blow. What? In the heat of the argument, Dad suddenly yells, his face red with anger. You were never our daughter, never. Silence, cold, heavy. Mom tries to stop him, pulling on his sleeve. Ralph, don't. But he continues, his voice breaking. She's the fruit of your betrayal, Joan. With that mark, I forgave you, but her, I couldn't. I just can't. That's all. I never could and never will accept her. I can't breathe. The words don't reach me right away. It's as if they're in a foreign language. Claire stands to the side. Her face is tear-stained, but she speaks quietly and confidently. That's why you've always been bad. An evil, bad person. You are the fruit of sin. I've known it for years. I look at her. You knew? She nods. I overheard my parents when I was 15. They were arguing. Dad yelled that you weren't his, that Mom came back pregnant from Mark. And you didn't say anything. My voice breaks, turning into a whisper. Claire looks at me coldly. It wouldn't have changed anything. Something inside me breaks, not gradually, suddenly, like the glass wall I've been holding up for years is shattering into 1,000 pieces. I can't breathe. I gasp for air, but it doesn't reach my lungs. I run out of the apartment. I hear Martin shouting my name, but I don't stop. I run down the stairs and out onto the street. It's cold. It's dark. I sit down on the sidewalk and hug my knees to my chest. I don't cry, I just sit there. I stare into the void. Martin finds me a few minutes later. He sits down next to me and hugs me. Everything will be okay, he whispers. I promise you, we'll find out the truth. But I'm not sure I want to know the truth. Because if it's what Dad said, what does that mean for me? Who am I then? I tremble in his arms, not from the cold, but from the feeling that something inside me has broken forever. The next morning, Martin leaves early, saying he has to meet with Ethan. I don't ask why. After what happened, it's hard for me to think about anything at all. I sit at home, staring out the window. My father's words echo in my head. You were never our daughter. Claire's words. You're a bad person. Maybe they're right? Maybe I really am a stranger to them? Maybe that's why they never loved me. Martin comes back in the evening. He sits down next to me and takes my hand. Ethan and I have decided to do something, he says cautiously. We want to find out the truth, the real truth. I look at him. What truth? A DNA test, he says quietly, to find out if Ralph really isn't your father, whether it's paranoia or reality. I feel my heart beating faster. But they'll never agree to take the test. We'll do it without them knowing, Martin says. We'll collect samples and send them to the lab. And when the results come back, we'll show everyone. I hesitate. What if it's true? What if I'm really not theirs? Martin squeezes my hand. Then at least you'll know. You won't be living in uncertainty. I nod, even though I'm scared. Okay. Over the next few days, Martin and Ethan secretly collect samples. Martin takes my toothbrush and a few hairs from my comb. Ethan goes to Ralph and Joan's house on the pretext of a meeting and takes the glass Ralph drank water from and the napkin Joan used to wipe her mouth after dinner. Then he goes to Claire's and takes her fork after dinner. They take everything to a private lab. They pay for urgent processing, $1,500. The results are promised in 10 days. These 10 days are the longest in my life. I can't sleep, I hardly eat. I keep thinking, what if it's true? What if I'm really not theirs? Then who am I? Martin holds me, tries to distract me, but I can see that he's nervous too. On the 11th day, when I'm at work at Red Tower, Martin calls me. The results are in, he says, his voice trembling. Liv, you need to sit down. I go outside and sit on a bench near a snack bar. Tell me. Ralph is your biological father, he says slowly. The probability is 99.8%. Joan is your biological mother. 99.9% probability. Liv, you are their biological daughter. They were wrong all these years. I can't breathe. I hold the phone, but the words don't register. It's as if they're in another language. Are you sure? Yes, Martin says. I've seen the results. The official document. You're their daughter, their biological daughter. I cry. I just sit on the bench and cry. Passers-by look at me, but I don't care. What now? I ask through my tears. Ethan wants to show them the results, all of them, tomorrow, at our house. I can't see them, I say. You can, Martin says firmly. They need to see what they've done. The next day, everyone comes to our apartment. My parents are reluctant, their faces closed. They don't want to be here. Claire is wary, clinging to Ethan. I sit on the sofa, Martin next to me. Ethan stands in the middle of the room, holding a piece of paper. We've gathered you here because there's something important, he says. Martin and I did a DNA test to find out the truth. Ralph looks at him suspiciously. What test? Ethan puts the paper on the table. Read it. Ralph takes the paper. He reads it. His face slowly turns gray. His hands begin to tremble. He reads it again, his lips moving silently. Joan looks over his shoulder. Suddenly, she gasps for air, sits down on a chair, and covers her face with her hands. Oh my God, she whispers. Oh my God. Claire grabs the paper from her father's hands and reads it quickly. Her face turns paler with every word. This is impossible, she says quietly. I look at her, my voice trembling, but I say, why is it impossible, Claire? Because you believed a lie for years? Because it was easier to hate me than to admit you were wrong? She doesn't answer. She just stares at the paper, reading the numbers over and over again. Joan lifts her head, her face wet with tears. She looks at Ralph, then at me. After Claire was born, she begins, her voice breaking. Ralph and I went through a difficult period. He worked a lot. I stayed home with the baby. We argued constantly. I felt lonely. She wipes her face. And in the end, we separated. For a few months, I moved in with my sister. There I met Mark. He worked at the same clinic where I got a job as an administrator. We started dating. Ralph sits motionless, staring at the floor. But after 3 months, I realized that I really loved Ralph, Joan continues, that I wanted to go back. Mark didn't object. He understood that there was nothing serious between us. I went back. Ralph and I made up. We got married again officially. We wanted to start with a clean slate. She looks at me. But less than a year later, you were born. Ralph raises his head, his voice quiet, broken. When she was born, she didn't look like Claire. Darker hair, different eyes. And I started counting the dates. It seemed to me that the timing coincided with the period when Joan was with Mark. Joan cries louder. I look at them, unable to believe what I'm hearing. You could have done a test, I say, my voice trembling. At any time, why not? Ralph looks at me, his eyes red. When you were born, it was the 2000s. DNA tests existed, but they weren't as accessible as they are now. Almost no one knew about them. We just didn't know about it then. Joan nods. And then the years passed. You grew up. When we finally found out about his existence, Ralph decided that if he took the test and it turned out you weren't his, it would be even harder for him. So we just lived with it, with suspicion. And we took it out on you. I feel like something inside me is breaking. You destroyed my childhood because of suspicion? Because you were afraid to find out the truth? Mother cries. Father doesn't answer. He just sits there staring at the floor. Claire suddenly speaks, her voice quiet, broken. I overheard your conversation when I was 15, she says, looking at her parents. You were arguing in the kitchen. Dad was yelling that Olivia wasn't his child, that Mom had cheated on him. Mom cried and denied it, but Dad didn't believe her. She wipes her face. I thought Dad was telling the truth, that Olivia really wasn't ours, and I started looking at her differently. I thought she was a stranger, that she had destroyed our family. I look at her tear-stained face. And you hated me for it. For years. Claire nods, crying. I thought I was doing the right thing, that I was protecting the family from you. I thought you were bad, evil, that you didn't deserve to be with us. Silence, heavy, suffocating. Ralph stands up. He comes over to me. His legs are shaking. He can barely walk. He stands in front of me, tries to say something, but the words won't come out. Finally, he whispers, I stole your childhood because of my fear, my weakness. I was afraid to find out the truth, so I lived with a lie, and I made you live with it too. He falls to his knees, crying. Forgive me. Please, I don't deserve it, but forgive me. Joan approaches, stands next to me, and reaches out her hand. You are my daughter, she says through tears. You always have been. I knew it, but I couldn't protect you, and what's more, her words are drowned out by her crying. I look at them. Tears stream down my face, and I don't wipe them away. You destroyed me, I say, my voice breaking. Not because I was bad, but because you chose to believe it. Without proof, without questions. You just decided I wasn't worthy of love. And I grew up thinking there was something wrong with me, that I was a mistake. Joan cries louder, tries to hug me, but I pull away. Don't, I say, trembling. I sit down on the sofa, wrap my arms around myself, and can't stop crying. I need time, I say, barely audibly. I can't right now. It's too much. Martin comes over, sits down next to me, and hugs me. You need to go, he says firmly to my parents and Claire. They leave silently. Joan looks back at me from the doorway, crying, her face contorted with pain. But I don't look at her. Ethan lingers. He puts his hand on Martin's shoulder. Without saying a word, he leaves. The door closes. I sit in silence, crying until I have no more tears left. Martin holds me, saying nothing, just holding me. And then 3 years pass. 3 long years that go by too slowly. I don't answer my parents' calls. They call every week at first, then less often. I don't pick up the phone. I don't come to family celebrations. Mom sends invitations for Thanksgiving, Christmas. I don't respond. Letters come regularly. Mom writes long letters asking for forgiveness, telling me about her life, asking about mine. I don't open them. I put them in a box and hide them in the closet. Claire sends text messages, at first, every week, then every month. Livy, forgive me. I understand if you never forgive me. I've been in therapy, trying to be better. I don't block her number, but I don't reply. Martin tells me that Ethan said their marriage with Claire has broken down. She's been in therapy trying to understand herself, to understand why she did what she did. But something between them has broken. Trust, perhaps, or respect. I try not to think about them. I'm building my own life. I'm finishing college. I'm graduating with honors as a sous chef. My teacher says I have talent, that I could work in any restaurant in the city. I find a job at Marlowe and Finch, a small family restaurant that serves homemade food. The owners, an elderly couple named George and Mabel, treat me like their daughter. They don't know my story, but they sense that I am lonely. Martin gets another promotion at work. Now he is a warehouse manager, leading a team of 10 people. The salary is good, and we are saving money. We haven't touched the lottery winnings. They are still in the account. We live together in the same small apartment, but now it really is our home. We buy a new sofa, hang pictures on the walls, plant flowers on the windowsill. Our relationship is growing stronger. He is my home, my family, the only person who sees me for who I really am. On the 3rd anniversary of our real relationship, not the lottery one, but the one that began after that kiss, when we decided to be together for real, Martin proposes. We are on the roof of our building. The evening is warm. The sun is setting on the horizon. The sky is pink and orange. We sit on an old blanket drinking cheap wine from plastic cups. Martin suddenly stands up and gets down on one knee. He holds a simple silver ring. Not expensive, but beautiful. Olivia, he says, his voice trembling. You showed me what true love is, what home is. Will you marry me? I cry. I nod, unable to speak with excitement. Yes, 1,000 times yes. He puts the ring on my finger and kisses me. We sit on the roof, embracing, watching the sun disappear over the horizon. We plan a modest wedding. A small hall at Marlowe and Finch. George and Mabel offered it for free. 30 guests. Our friends, co-workers, a few people from college who have become close to us. And a week before the wedding, as we are compiling the guest list, Martin asks gently, do you want to invite your parents? I invited mine, my mom from Oregon, my dad and his wife. They're coming. I'm not saying you have to invite yours. It's just, maybe you need to close this chapter. For yourself, not for them. I think about it for a long time. I hesitate. But then I realize Martin is right. I need to close this chapter. Let it go. Otherwise, I will carry this burden for the rest of my life. Yes, I finally say. I'll invite them. Not because I've forgiven them. Just, maybe it will help me let go. I send the invitation, short, formal. We invite you to our wedding, May 23rd, 3 p.m., Marlowe and Finch Restaurant. The reply comes the next day from my mother. We'll be there. Thank you for letting us be there. Wedding day. I wake up early, too nervous to eat breakfast. Martin makes me tea and strokes my hair. Everything will be fine, he says. I'll be right here. I put on a simple cream-colored dress. No frills, no unnecessary embellishments. Mabel helps me with my makeup and braids my hair into a simple plait. The small hall in the restaurant is decorated with white flowers, chrysanthemums and roses. 30 chairs, tables covered with white tablecloths. The guests begin to arrive. Friends from work, Martin's colleagues, teachers from college. Martin's mother, a tall woman with gray hair, hugs me and says, I'm so glad he found you. His father and wife are reserved but polite, and then they arrive. My parents. I see them as they enter the hall. They have aged. His father, Ralph, has a tired face with deep wrinkles around his eyes. His mother, Joan, is thin, a shadow of her former self. Claire arrives with Ethan. She's changed a lot. She looks more mature, not older, but as if life has taught her something. Her eyes are different, less confident, more tired. I see them, and my eyes fill with tears, but I nod. I try to smile. The ceremony goes quickly. The host, Martin's friend, reads a few words about love and fidelity. Martin kisses me. The guests applaud. I see my mother crying at the table. She wipes her face with a napkin, her eyes fixed on me. During dinner, as soft music plays and the guests chat, my father approaches me. He's holding an envelope. His hands are shaking as he hands it to me. His voice breaks. This won't fix the past. Nothing will fix it, but I want you to know I'm sorry. Every day, every minute. I destroyed you because of my fear, and I will have to live with that for the rest of my life. I take the envelope. Inside is a letter. Dad's handwriting is uneven and shaky. Olivia, I don't know if you will read this, but I need to write. I was a bad father. I let fear control me. I let paranoia destroy you. Forgive me. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I ask for it. If you ever can, give me a chance. Just one, and that's it. I want to get to know you, the real you. Your father, Ralph. I fold the letter and put it back in the envelope. Mom comes over. She gently touches my hand. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, she says quietly, crying. I couldn't protect you. I'm weak. I always have been. Forgive me if you can. I don't answer. I just look at her tear-stained face, at her trembling hands. Claire stands aside by the column. Ironically, right where I used to sit. Then she timidly approaches. She really does look different. Her clothes are simpler, her makeup barely noticeable. It's as if she's been through something difficult and emerged a different person. After becoming a psychologist and going through many sessions myself, I understood a lot, she says quietly, looking me in the eyes. About myself, about why I did what I did. I projected my own fears onto you. I was afraid that if you were bad, then our family would be good. That if I hated you, my parents would love me more. She wipes her eyes. I'm not asking you to forgive me. Just know that I regret the person I used to be. I believed that you were a bad person and wanted to prove it, but it turned out that I was the bad person. Well, I'm not asking you to forgive me. Just know that I will always carry this burden, no matter what happens next. It's my burden, and I've accepted it. So, live better than we did. Live happily. I look at them all. At my dad, who can't look me in the eye. At my mom, who is crying quietly. At Claire, who is standing in front of me, broken and small. I'm silent for a long time. I think. I feel Martin squeezing my hand under the table. Then I say quietly, barely audibly, I don't know if I'll ever be able to forget. What you did, it changed me forever, but time heals. That's what people say. I don't know if it's true, but maybe, not now, but maybe someday. Stay until the end of the wedding if you want. They stay. There is no reconciliation. I don't approach them anymore, but they sit at the table, watching me dance with Martin, watching me laugh with my friends. They watch the life I've built without them. When Martin and I dance a slow dance, he whispers in my ear, "You're the strongest person I know." I look at him and smile through my tears. I have you, and that makes me strong. In the evening, when most of the guests have left, my parents come over again. Can we call sometimes? My mother asks timidly, her voice barely audible. I nod. You can try, but I can't promise anything. She nods, understanding. There is hope in her eyes, small, trembling hope. They leave. Claire lingers for a moment. "Thank you for letting us come," she says. I don't answer, I just look at her. She leaves. Ethan lingers, looking at me. "You did the right thing," he says quietly. "Letting them come. It's important. For all of us," I nod. Martin hugs me from behind, kisses my shoulder. "Ready to go home?" I turn around and look at him. "Yes, home." We go to our little apartment where we built a life from scratch, where we learned to love unconditionally, where I finally found a home. I don't know if we'll ever forgive each other. Will my parents become a real family? Will I ever be able to trust them again? But I know one thing. I am no longer the girl behind the column, not the one who was ignored and considered a mistake, not the one who thought she was unworthy of love. I am Olivia. I am visible. I am loved. I have built the life I wanted with a person who sees me for who I really am, and I am finally home. The door to the past is not locked, but it is not wide open either. It is ajar, just a little, enough for the light to shine through, but not enough for the old pain to return. And that is enough.